Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that was a miss.
Just gotta work, you know.
Yeah.
Order meeting.
I can fall here. I'm good. Thank you, though.
John, can you hear us?
Sure can.
Okay, yeah, Selena and I are here, and as well as Elliot, so we're ready to go when you are.
Okay, we're just waiting for Tracy to let us know that he's recording.
Okay.
You are being recorded.
Very good. We'll go ahead and call our April the 14th, 2021 Finance Committee to order. Are there any announcements? I don't have any. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the previous meeting memorandum?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Selena. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cecilia. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to item 4 on the agenda, R041921, a resolution authorizing the city controller to transfer certain City of Fishers budget funds.
Yeah, so just real quickly, this is money that's going from the cash reserves to the police department. After we got the additional lit money last year, the Chief Gephardt had made a request for some additional training funds for some of the diversity initiative that his department is working on. So that's what this is the funds for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions for Lisa?
No questions.
Do I have a motion? I have a motion to recommend for approval at Monday night's council meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Selena. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by David. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Thank you very much. Moving on to resolutions.
All right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Item 5 on the agenda. Go right ahead.
All right, so this is an additional appropriation for the police department. Also, it's from their forfeiture funds, which, as you know, those are the funds that are seized during investigations that eventually you get a share of if everything comes to fruition. Those can be used in a variety of ways. And one of the ways that has come up is there is a need for to replace the gun racks in the police department vehicles due to some things that have happened recently. So we've worked with Ed to identify the funding. And so this will essentially be his way to change and get new gun racks for vehicles. And then there'll be a public hearing Monday night, but it has been noticed, the current in Fishers and current in Geist.
Okay.
Are there any questions on that one? And Ed, I believe the chief will be there on Monday night too, in case anyone has questions, just to be safe. But I think it's pretty straightforward on what he needs.
Okay. Any questions for Lisa on this?
No questions.
Do you have a motion to approve? Recommend for approval.
So moved.
Motion by David. Have a second.
Second.
Second by Selena. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Moving on to ordinances. Item 6 on the agenda.
All right, so I'm gonna talk about this one and also kind of give you some background, because I'm sure you guys have been hearing a lot about the American Rescue Plan and what that means to fishers and just in general to everyone. So as you know, when the American Rescue Plan was enacted, there were specific carve-outs for local governments. And so there is $65 billion allocated to cities, with almost 46 billion of that for entitlement communities, and then 19.5 billion for non-entitlement communities. And really, that's kind of related to community development block grants. They call them entitlement and non-entitlement. So while Fishers meets the population threshold to be an entitlement city, we have remained a non-entitlement city. So therefore, our funds will be allocated essentially based on population. It's over 50,000 to be an entitlement city. At this point, we don't know exactly what the difference would be if we wouldn't have been non-entitlement, because the numbers aren't quite final yet. So we have not received formal notification of, hey, this is the full amount of the money you're going to get. There's been estimates thrown around by Baker Tilly, who's our accounting firm, some other accounting firms, the state. So I will just tell you guys kind of the range that I have heard. So the low end for Fishers that I've heard is about 15.5, and that was a version that had townships still in the funding formula. And the high end I've heard is anywhere from 18.5 million to 19.8 million. So that is money that would be coming to the city of Fishers. It is spelled out in the American Rescue Plan what you can use it on. And I have kind of a summary that I will send you guys here after this meeting that kind of reiterates what I've talked about. But essentially, you use it to respond to the public health emergency with respect to COVID-19, provide premium pay to essential workers or grants to employees, provide government services affected by a reduction in revenues of state. So basically, there is a revenue replacement factor in this bill that didn't exist in the CARES Act funding. And then the final one is investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So this one, I will say, the American Rescue Plan and its use of funds is a lot more stringent and a little more narrow than what CARES was. So CARES, as you guys may recall, was a little broader based, less money, but much broader kind of interpretation. So the Treasury regulations haven't come out yet, which the Treasury regulations will kind of give us more specific examples of what everything can be used on. But one of the things that the State Board of Accounts has come out and said is that if you're going to receive funds from the American Rescue Plan, you have to create this new fund for them, and you have to have it approved through your statutory process. So that's what this ordinance is doing. And we do not receive the funds directly. The funds will go to the state of Indiana first, and then the state of Indiana has 30 days in turn to distribute them to us. And it basically comes in 2 installments, and you have until the end of 2024 to spend these funds. And I know that's a lot of information about this. That's like I said, I have a summary that I'll also send you. But the high level kind of analysis is this ordinance is essentially creating the fund and allowing us to take in the money that we will be getting here probably in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 months from the state via the federal government.
Will there be an actual formal accounting back to the federal government on how we spend it?
Yes.
And
So,
do we even know what that process is going to be yet?
we don't know what that process is going to be yet. It all talks about that you have to make formalized reports that you're spending in accordance with the ARP guidelines. But as everything that happens with the federal government, they pass it and they're like, here's your money, but then no one has issued any more generalized guidance yet. So but there will be, you have to be, meet the needs. It has to be paid out of this specific fund. I'm really curious how they're going to handle the lost revenue replacement, because, for example, 2019 is your base year. That's what all your revenue loss factors are based on. So, for example, we can definitely point to the MVH fund and say, oh, we lost, probably 450, I think is the calculation in MVH. However, according to ARP, we can replace that lost revenue, but we have to use that 450. I'm curious if we have to use that 450 on something as statutorily defined in the American Rescue Plan, or my argument is I lost money in a fund that allows me to fix and repair roads. So why can't I use my 450,000 lost revenue replacement back in NVH and use that on roads. So I think that's where we're going to start to see the guidance that's going to come out from Treasury kind of point to what you can do. So, because that to me, it doesn't make sense to me that you can say I can replace my lost revenue, but I can't use it in the way that it was lost.
Sure.
Which is kind of, I think, not going to help a lot of people. But that's, so as with everything with the federal government, it'll take a little bit of time for the Treasury regulations to kind of come out and the analysis of, you know, what's considered acceptable uses of funds interpreted by them. But the first step, like I said, is kind of just to create the fund to be able to receive the funds that we are supposed to be allocated. And I think, I would assume we will get formal exact notification of our amount, but we haven't heard anything from, like I said, either the federal government. I've heard some estimates, which I told you, from the state, but nothing formal communication wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of that period of time, if you don't use it, you have to give it back?
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll use it. It'll be used. Hey, Lisa, this is David. Real quick, I guess maybe it's a cynical person in me, but I'm going back to like the late 2000s. In Fishers, there are many times monies went, and you could say, well, it just flowed through the state. But the state changed how they gave things to us. Is there going to be a mechanism, and maybe we don't know that yet, that the feds give the money to the state? And then from that standpoint, you just want to give it to 50 people. You don't want to deal with the rest of it. And then are obligated to give whatever the formula is to each person.
Yes, they're obligated to give it, and it is a statutory requirement that they give it out within 30 days to the applicable cities. I will say, I believe from talking with the Indiana Finance Authority that they will be the ones distributing the funds. They did the CARES Act and were responsible for that. We have a very good relationship with the head of IFA, Dan Hughey. He's a Fishers resident. And so we have worked with him a lot with questions and, you know, the like. So I do feel that the formulas and things like that, if we have questions on how things were calculated too, they would definitely be willing to share that with us. There are some where it's based on population. So for example, I'll say the Government Finance Officers Association, they have estimates and they have us getting about 19.8, Carmel getting about 21 million. They're basing that on potential 2019 census numbers, but I don't know where they pulled those 2019 census numbers. Hence, we're getting that kind of range. But there is kind of a statutory formula that will be followed, and it does come, as I understand it, it's going to come to us from the IFA, the Indiana Finance Authority, and it'll be, the state has 30 days from the date they receive the funds to kind of turn it around to us.
Okay.
There's also a restriction that your funds received can't be more than 75% of your budget for the prior year, which that's not a problem for us. So we won't have any problems meeting that requirement. Any other questions on this one?
Nope, not for me. Any questions? Can we make a motion to recommend for approval for Monday night?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to item 7, which I think you kind of went through already.
Yes, I think we've covered that pretty well in general, but I will, like I mentioned, forward you guys and send you guys out this document that I kind of referenced, so you guys can have that to refer to. The other thing I would tell you is we got our Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting this week for our 2019 CAFR, so that's our 31st. So we got that official notification last week. So we've got that for 2019. We're going full steam ahead on the 2020 audit right now, getting those pulled together. getting ready to get that done. The only other thing I would ask, you guys got the updated fiscal plan a couple weeks ago. I didn't know if anybody had any major questions on that. We've talked about the general fund balance pretty regularly. All the other funds are in pretty decent shape. So I didn't know if anybody had any questions on that. Okay.
At this point, no, you probably can send it on to the rest of the council members, let them have a copy of it as well.
Okay. I will get that sent out to the rest of them.
Okay.
All right.
Anything, any other unfinished or new business?
Not that I have.
All right, folks, if since there isn't, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Selena, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Cecilia. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Everyone have a great weekend, and I will see you all Monday night at council.
All right.
Sounds
You
good.
guys.
Okay, thank you. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.